very recently, onboarded onto a new role, so I don't have much to say, but I can share something from a previous experience or whatever. Okay, so
Mhm, mhm,
um, so most of the time it's configuring routers or switches. That's a very basic thing,
mhm,
as you know, uh,
mhm,
and
mhm,
also monitoring monitoring things. How the network is,
mhm.
and also you know mm, troubleshooting. For some troubleshooting, we just log
Right.
into the switches and look at the logs, how things are, and that is one thing.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
um, and also I think this is what I'm just able to think
Yeah.
over. Mm,
Yeah. Do you also create some kind of reports like weekly, monthly, yearly, or something like that?
well, not specifically me, but it's going to be my
Yeah.
team lead or manager who takes care of the audit purposes. They take some reports and all.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so that's pretty much the whole deal, right? If you talk to any network engineer, that's the whole host of pretty much everything that they do, right, on a day-to-day basis. So if you look at all these tasks, any random network engineer, if you pick any network engineer and ask them, pretty much they'll give you a subset of either of these, right? One, two, or three of these, they'll tell you that we do these, right? So basically, what is the issue with this? It's all hunky dory, right? So why are we, why are we here? Why are we talking about Python? Why are we talking about automation? So anyone has any view on that? Why just doing this is like, what is the issue with doing these things? Or should we be doing more than this? Or should we be doing these things better? Any comments on that from anyone?
I think it's more like reducing the man hours, like the real operational stuff, and
Yeah.
making changes or anything in a bulk. When we say
Hmm.
automation, so that's what
Hmm.
it actually means, where we are automating things, whatever
Yeah.
a regular or the repetitive tasks would be.
Yeah, right. So when you talk about configuration, Krishna, do you guys like prepare the complete configuration, or is it just a service that you guys are creating or adding a smaller portion of the config, or is it like the whole config for the device?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the whole configuration. So from my
Yeah.
experience, like I personally built from the scratch, everything, designing and implementation
Mm-hmm.
of everything. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
something like we build it from the scratch as per the
Yeah.
site requirements or whatever.
Yeah, so if I talk about like number of lines of the configuration, what 1,500, 1,500, 2,000, what is the number around? Can you give me a ballpark number?
Uh, yeah, from my experience, I think I would say not more than 500 lines. That's what
Yeah,
I have exposed to,
yeah,
but I think it could be more than that, definitely.
yeah. Very easily, it can be around 1,000 lines of configuration. Also, not a very big deal. If
Yeah.
if if the router is catering to different types of teams or different types of departments or different types of customers, in that case it can very easily go anywhere up to like 2,000 also, right? So if you talk about configurations where you have to create a configuration in these many number of lines, very easily you are the to prepare that configuration, the data that you have to use, that is going to be basically part of your commands, like the interface IP addresses, the interface descriptions, the neighbor IP addresses, or the neighbor protocol details, or the neighbor names, what is the neighboring router's name, things like that. So these are all data. What is the IP of the DNS server? What is the IP of the TACAX server or the SNMP server? And what all you have to enable in SNMP, what you don't have to enable. Is it going to be version 3 or version 2 only in a particular router? So all that data is going to come to you from multiple sources, right? So basically, it could be coming from an LLD kind of a file, which probably the customer is filling up for you, or some of the details might be coming in from your internal tools. Like if your company is managing somebody else's network or some other company's network, in that case a lot of these variables are coming in, or the values are coming in, which basically you make them part of your configuration and apply it on the devices, right? Similarly, for monitoring, you might be using certain tools to find out if the traffic flow is okay or not, if the router is behaving properly or not, like the CPU, memory, and all these statistics you might be monitoring. And when it comes to troubleshooting, also, what do you actually want when you're troubleshooting the kind of issues that you guys see nowadays? You generally want a very quick report as to if there are, like, what is the path of the traffic. You find that out either using traceroute or probably some other internal tool. But once you find out, you very quickly want to know what are all the devices in the path, right? Uh, Once you find out what are all the devices, you might want to find out what is the CPU utilization on all these devices. You might want to find out, what are the drops on all the interfaces through which this particular traffic that is in question is going to pass from. Okay, what is the statistics of those interfaces? Are there output errors, input errors, or CRC errors? Okay, is the throughput, or is the QoS configuration on all these interfaces consistent? Is it correct or not? Is there bottlenecking happening at some point in this path? So you want to very quickly get all this information, and once you have this information in front of you, it basically just becomes a yes or no decision, or how you want to proceed with that kind of a decision. And you can come up with the decision very very quickly, but that data you need very quickly. Okay, once you find out that, okay, this is the problematic device in the path, then it is just a matter of going into that device and finding out what exactly is happening on the device, and that probably will take you just 5-10 minutes. But getting all that data or going through that whole path, it might take you probably upwards of 30 minutes or 1 hour or things like that. So uh, so basically, if you look at all these things, if you talk about configuration preparation, that can easily take up to 2 hours. Okay, and it will take you 2 hours for this kind of a configuration when you are one of the experienced engineers in the team. Like, you have been preparing configurations over and over, like probably for 6 months to 1 year time frame. If you have been preparing these configurations, then you can do it in 2 hours. Okay. Otherwise, very easily it can go up to 3 hours. Or once you get a request to prepare a configuration of that size, you cannot reply to them on the same day. You're going to take your time, and probably the next day you'll find a duration, probably somewhere in the early morning duration. And you'll sit, and with silence you'll have to prepare the configuration so that you don't create errors. And even then you will end up creating errors. Somewhere you'll forget to capitalize it, somewhere you'll forget to make the letter small in the description, somewhere you'll not do proper conversion of bandwidth in Mbps to kbps. So all these issues, you will, because it is a 500 line code, and humans are not meant to operate in that way. We are not computers, basically. Computers are very good at these tasks. Once you tell it how to convert Mbps into kbps, it is fine. But in our case, what happens is, once we are doing the conversion either directly in the head, or while we are doing it in a calculator or something like that, we might end up mistyping something. We might end up putting 10 extra or 10 less, right? So these kinds of issues happen. So that is number one, the issues. Number two is the time, right? And number three is getting so much data, or you, I should say, getting the data out of the network at scale, right? So these are the challenges that every network engineer is facing today. Is there anyone who disagrees with this statement? I think everyone agrees with this statement, right? With these findings. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. So, this is where in some manner or the other, if you bring in, or if you make that network engineer, like if you add a few more skills in the skill set of this network engineer, primarily in the domain somewhere, somehow related to automation, and specifically network automation, these tasks that network engineer can do in a matter of minutes. Okay. And the person who is telling you about these things, that is myself, I have done these things, over the course of like last 10 years. I have probably around 7 8 years ago, I think now it will be over 8 years now. So I learned Python myself, and in my day-to-day job I started using Python. Okay. So I'm a network engineer first, and then I became a developer. Okay. So, probably around 2 years back also, I was holding a network engineering position only. So you are going to learn from a person who understands you. That is number one. Okay. And how do we, you know, improve this situation? Okay. How do we make you more efficient? So first thing that we need to learn is the basics of Python. Okay. So has anyone wondered why do we keep listening Python everywhere as network engineers specifically? Has anyone wondered why are we not talking about some other language? Like there are a lot of other languages also, right? There is Go, there is Perl, there are other, a lot of other languages, Java, and so on. So has anyone wondered, or anyone found the answer to that? Why we just talk about Python and not these other languages? Hmm?
Maybe like it's easily understandable and easy to write.
Yeah, that's one of the points, very right. But
Many
there
built
is,
libraries are there.
uh, yes, that is second important point. Okay, very good. Anyone else? We've got 2 points. One is the easy to understand and write, easy, like you basically are going to get help from the community. Okay, that is number two. What does anyone wants to add here? Okay, I'll add. Basically, the two strongest points you guys have already given. The third point is a very big marketing push. Okay, very big marketing push from the giants. Okay, giants like Cisco, Juniper, you know, uh, all the other bigger names that you've heard, all of them are nowadays talking about Python. Okay, any vendor that is out there who creates any who manufactures any kind of networking device, all of them are talking about Python nowadays. So there is a very big marketing push as well, right? So everyone is talking about how their devices can be easily automated. So these are the 3 points. Okay, so let's discuss that in more detail. So what happened in the Python world? Let's discuss that. What happened really was that Python came out as a very, at the time when it came, it was one of the most modern languages. And the thing with Python is the creator of Python, he uh, created the language in such a way that it is very easy to understand and read. It is just like basically just reading English. Okay, if I write English somewhere, and you have to read it. It is just like that pretty much. Okay. And the indentation and all these things, we as network engineers understand, and a lot of other technical people in any technical domain, whether they are system admins, they are working with Linux or some other tool, in any domain of IT, everyone understands things like indentation, right? We all know that, what is indentation, right? Just to quickly show you it, if I say interface gig 0 by 0, and then I put IP address command, but I put a space here, right? And then I say whatever the IP address. Okay. So this space that we put, what is the purpose of this space? While configuration we might not put it, but when we do a show run or something like that, we see that space there, right? What is the purpose of that space? Anyone knows? Anyone?
Maybe
Okay.
just
So the
says a
purpose,
subtree
yeah,
or something.
yeah, huh?
Subtree of that particular it's a
Yeah,
top level
yeah, you
control.
can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that, but to very easily put that in a very layman term, it is just to denote that whatever follows, okay, whatever lines follow here, they only correspond to this major entity. Okay. So if I am putting the IP address, this is the IP address of this particular interface. This is what this indentation is trying to denote. If I put any other command also, okay, something related to, let's say, VRRP, or we have a lot of other commands also under that go under the interface, whether it is description, whether it is the shut, no shut, a lot of other things, right? So all these commands basically correspond to just this high level entity, okay, which is the interface. So that indentation thing is what they use in Python also, okay. And a lot of other languages, if you talk about Java and all, they have to use curly brackets and things like that to be able to get that job done. But here they made it very, very simple, okay. There are a lot of, like, it is one more major point about Python is, even though it is one of the simplest languages, it is still a full-fledged language. Okay. Now, when I say full-fledged, you might be wondering then what languages are not full-fledged. Have you guys heard about Bash or shell scripting? You might have heard about these, right? Anyone?
Yeah,
So,
we are doing it bash scripting for automation, just like that only.
yeah. So, would you say that Bash or shell scripting is a full-blown language? You can do anything with it?
There is some limitations are there due to which we are
Yeah.
not able to do full automation on it.
Yeah, you will not be able to do full automation within your Linux box. But other than that, if I ask you that use Bash or shell scripting to build probably a website, okay, or use
That
you
won't be possible, right?
yeah, that won't be possible, right? If I ask you to build one full GUI based terminal, okay, where you can input data
Right, right.
and do something like that, you will not be able to do these things. So that is what I'm saying, that Python is one of the full-fledged languages. You can develop complete software in it. Okay. So basically the effort that you put in learning a certain language, they don't go wasted. You can basically transform yourself to be a full-time Python developer also going forward. Okay, although you might start learning it for your day-to-day work, to help you out in your day-to-day work, but going further, you can keep learning it and keep learning about newer frameworks, newer libraries, newer ways of writing code, and you will be able to develop any piece of software basically in this. Okay, so it is one of the most, I would say, easiest full-fledged languages. Okay, so that is why we are getting this push. And then amongst the network engineering community, why it has become famous. Actually, this is as network engineers, we think that amongst network engineers, Python is famous, but Python is famous within the whole IT community. Okay, you see, there is a network effect kind of a thing that happened here. So what happened is, since it is easy to write, okay, there is a term for this which is called semantics. Okay, so the semantics of this language or the syntax of writing this language is very easy. Okay, it is easy to read, easy to understand, easy to write. So what happened as a by virtue of this, what happened is that more and more people in IT started to learn this language. And once they learned this language, what happened is they started to automate the stuff that they do. Okay, so let's say someone who is from the who works on servers on a day-to-day basis. Okay, who is a system admin of some sort. Let's say that person learned Python. Okay, then there is a person who is working on data analysis. Okay, so that person also learned, you know, Python. So what happened as a effect, that once he was able to automate his or her use case for servers, he kept writing code and he kept automating his stuff, and then he realized that there are other people who work on servers just like me. So what he did, he basically packaged his code and converted it into a Python library. Okay. Similarly, the person who is from the data analysis domain, he also started learning Python, and on a day-to-day basis, for whatever tasks he was using Python, like he might be looking at very big heaps of data, he might be working with SQL server databases, he might be working with other kinds of databases, he or she might be working with creating graphs in the GUI. So things like that, people from the data analysis domain might do. So what they did, they created their libraries. Okay. So as a result, in the whole IT domain, this kind of network effect happened, and lot of people, which we nowadays call the community, started developing these packages for their own use cases. And what happened eventually was everyone started using each other's packages to automate their own scenario. Now, in such a scenario, if you take a network engineer, if you look at a server engineer, they also do SSH, they also do telnet in their devices. So whatever libraries they created, network engineer was able to build on top of that. He was also able to, he also wanted to do telnet or SSH to the devices. And once he used that library, then instead of you sending Linux commands, he started sending Cisco commands or Juniper commands or some other type of commands, right? So then the basic task of creating a library that can automate the job of creating an SSS session, that job was already done, right? So that is how a community develops. That is how a community helps each other. So this is something that is very, very strong in Python. So everyone, because semantics were easy, the next step was that everyone started learning it and everyone started using it on a day-to-day basis. And once they started using it, they were able to develop packages or libraries, and that those libraries basically more people started to use. So if you are a network engineer, you'll look at Java. Now, in today's day and age, if you look at Java and you want to do a certain task with a Cisco device or a Juniper device, it will be very difficult for you to do it, right? You'll very difficult to find the correct library, very difficult to, basically you'll have to write more code on top of that to be able to do a certain task. Okay, which in the case of Python, you'll see that a lot of other people have already written a very good amount of code for working with a Cisco device or a Juniper device or some other vendor device. So you will automatically like 50% or 60% of the work is already done for you. You just have to pick it up and build on top of that. So that is the reason why Python specifically is becoming that much famous. Okay. So then there is another thing in the industry that is happening. If you guys have noticed, that thing is the size of the network. Okay, the size of the network is increasing. Why do you think that is happening? What is the fundamental reason for the size of the networks everywhere, whether you are working for a service provider, whether you are working for an enterprise, a small company, a big company, a company probably in the, restaurant spaces or the food industry or in the FMCG industry or in the drinks industry or any kind of industry, whatever company it is, why are they investing in the IT? Anyone wants to take a dig at that?
To know about the exact location of the particular person or particular locate or about the country code and all that things should be there, and it should be get tracked where it is from generated, the traffic is generated actually for that.
Uh, Yeah. So I think you can, one word for that would be supply chain, right? So their whole supply chain is basically online, right? Then their customers are also online. If they like, you see a lot of these newer companies coming up, and like on the day one, no matter what kind of product they make, no matter how physical nature of the product is, still they will have their own applications. They will be acquiring customers online. So most of the things have shifted online. You can look at your behavior on a day-to-day basis. How many times are you actually going to the market and purchasing stuff? Compared to, like, if you're looking in India specifically, if you're living in a tier one city, you just look at your day-to-day thing, day-to-day tasks that you do. You will be ordering pretty much even your grocery you are ordering nowadays online. Okay, everything is shifting online, right? So the whole supply chain and everything is going online. If the the factories are located in South India, and the people who are buying the products, let's say, are located in North India, so the whole journey of the product from South India to North India has to be tracked online, right? So in a similar way, everything is going online. So what happens by virtue of that is there is more and more traffic that is going to be on these networks. Okay, whether the endpoints end up using 4G 5G network also, still the traffic is going to increase on the telecom side and on in the cloud network. But at the end of the day, you will also have to install a network, no matter how small of a company it is. Everyone will have to make good amount of investments in IT. And one of the major aspects of IT is the network. No matter if you install a single server, you'll still have to install one switch or one router at least. Routing and switching function, you will have to install one, probably security function also. So every, like, this industry is going to go up and up. So as a result, what is going to happen? The size of the network is going to be increase. When we say size, it basically means the number of devices is anyways going to go up. I think at least for the next 10-15 years, it is only going to go up. Okay, so if you let's take an example. Let's take a company somewhat like Coca-Cola. Okay, so in the Indian scenario specifically, what you will find it, or I should not say Indian scenario, in the global scenario also, Coca-Cola has their own IT network, but the management of this IT network is generally not done by Coca-Cola. Okay, they will hand it over to MSPs, what we call nowadays, okay, managed service providers. So they will come in and they will manage the network of Coca-Cola. There will be companies like BT, HCL, a lot of any company, Wipro, that you hear about, any IT company, TCS, all these companies are in that market also. Okay, they are all managed service providers. These guys will be hiring network engineers, and they will be managing the network for customers like Coca-Cola and any other company that you can imagine that has a worldwide existence or even a national existence in several states. If they have their proper IT infrastructure, they will need an MSP to manage. Now, let's continue with this example. In the case of Coca-Cola, if you look at, if you go back 10 years, the size of the network would be somewhat like 10,000 devices, right? 10, you can put pretty much everything there, routers, switches, firewalls, load balancers, whatever you can think of. So, 10,000 devices would be there. And the people managing, like, let's say BT had the contract 10 years ago. So 10,000 devices would be managed by probably what, 200 people at the time, right? 200, 300 people, the whole team dedicated to Coca-Cola, right? But now what has happened is, if I take the ratio of that 10,000 divided by 200, whatever ratio comes out, probably a ratio of 500 is to 1, probably one person is managing something like what, 500 devices, no, sorry, 50 devices, right? So one person is managing 50 devices at a very, very high level, I'm saying. Obviously, one person cannot manage 50 devices, but every device does not need managing all the time, right? So that was kind of the ratio. But now what you will see in Coca-Cola 10 years after, like in today's date, the number of devices have gone from like 10,000 to probably 1 lakh. And I can very confidently say it will be 1 lakh. Okay. So do you think in a hyper competitive market where BT, HCL, Wipro, TCS, all of these guys are bidding to manage Coca-Cola's network, and do you amounts will go up obviously from 10 years back. If you compare the amount they will be charging for that contract, it will be higher. But do you think they can go with same ratio now? So if I have to get a ratio of 50 to 1, 50 devices to one person, probably here the team will be of 2,000 or something of that sort, right? So do you think that happens? Are Has any one of you seen like 2,000 people assigned to one customer in any company, any customer of any size? No, right? Has anyone seen that? Teams are big nowadays, but not that big also, right? So you cannot operate at this ratio. Basically, in today's world, you cannot operate at this ratio, and therefore, whether even if Coca-Cola was managing their own network, let's say even they would hire their own network engineers to manage their own network, even they cannot afford to get this ratio. Okay, so in such a scenario, how do you do? Every network, roughly if we speak at a high level, every engineer is expected to manage at least 100, 200, 300, 500 kind of devices at once. Okay, so the ratios is of this type nowadays. Okay, you are expected to manage such large networks. And if you add the if you add the components like complexity of the network, you add components like criticality of the network. Okay, you add the number of applications that are running on the network. Okay, the dependability on the network basically. Then the number of changes that are happening in the network, the the number of people that are connected to the network. If you keep adding all these components in that equation now, okay, so and you cannot hire thousands of engineers to manage any customer's network. So what is happening in Hindi? There is a word called khai, right? There is this big gap that is appearing. So how do you manage? So the only answer to that is automation. Okay. So in the time that is going to come, in future. Nowadays also automation is happening. Automation is happening for the last 10 years, I would say. Okay, even solar winds tool that you guys have deployed, even an IPAM server that you have deployed, any kind of servers that you guys have deployed or you have seen being deployed, DNA server, DHCP server, those are all aspects of automation. To some extent, all these servers or all these services are basically helping the network engineer to be able to manage that network. A lot of things, a lot of aspects of the network have been automated, but that is still not going to be enough. Okay, so every network engineer now also has to learn automation so that they can manage this scale of a network with this scale of complexity, criticality, all these things. So basically, that is the gist of the story. So now a network engineer has to do these tasks, but uh, a network engineer has to do them much, much more efficiently, and that is where Python, and that is when network automation comes into the picture. So is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is why that is why the industry, the vendors, namely Cisco, Juniper, HP, Aruba, which is just an SV company, Dell, or any of the similar vendors out there. They all, if you look at any certification from them, you will see that they are introducing components of automation in that certification. Like I just opened this page today. If I go through like the CCNA, just the very basic CCNA certification also. If I click on exam topics, okay, it is the most basic certification. We all probably all of you might have done CCNA. You will see, this section, automation and programmability. If I go to CCNP Enterprise, even if I open NCore, the routing exam, right? Here also automation. You see, if I go to data center has their own automation exam. But if I go to the data center core technologies, you will find a component of automation there. You see, Python. And if I go to all these pages, you will some in the page, if I just search for Python, every page will have Python in it. Okay. So here also API, REST-based API, and all these things. Okay, if not Python, you'll find Ansible or something of that sort. You will find in it. Okay, so they are seeing that trend. They are seeing that need much more than what we individuals can see. As a company, they have more visibility into what is required. So that is why they understood that it is really necessary. You know. Yeah, this is the service provider exam. So here also you have automation and assurance, right? Programmable APIs and REST API and all these terms you will find here, right?
Uh,
Ansible again. Yeah,
Hi, Amit. Sorry to interrupt you. Actually,
yeah,
for that Python course, really, I want to be, I'm not enrolled for that course, but I want to be understand about that. You told about that automation, and really in this era, in IT era, we need that automation, right? Everything is going to moving into automation.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
I have seen the lots of job, every kind of job they are mentioning for the networking, they are still mentioning some kind of Python or automation because they
Hmm,
are combining that. But for that, I'll have to be
hmm,
understand some of the things. I have seen that in course we have mentioned something REST API and NetConf API. Really,
hmm,
it's like
you got muted.
completely deep in programming, right?
Hmm,
So I want to understand
hmm,
if we are going to be enrolling that course, right? First time I'm going to be
hmm,
means I have enrolled in the last time I told the course with the CCNP NRC, right? So I want to understand
yeah,
really how long it is going to be take to understand Python, right? I know before that I have
yeah.
one of my friend is taking a course for Python for data science, right? So that time I have not enrolled it, but I
Hmm,
was looking out for that course. It is like they are using a Jupyter
hmm,
Anaconda. There is a very simple. concept like adding that two
Hmm.
numbers, multiplying that number, string
Hmm.
tuple, lots of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I want to understand a network
Hmm.
point of view. Really, is it
Yeah.
we are going to be taking easy way, or how long it is going to be take to understand about to deep in that network automation? So I want to understand really
Yeah.
because there is a very even
Yeah.
I'm
That.
trying since
Yeah.
long
These
actually.
are the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is what the session is all about, right? That's what the end of the discussion will be. Where I'll tell you about what we are going to learn and how we are going to learn and things like that only. Yeah, that I'll answer that question in detail,
Okay. Okay.
right? Yeah, so basically, this is the first part of the discussion where we talked about what is the demand. Now we'll talk about the supply. Okay, so how we are going to achieve that? We clearly can see that there is a demand, Ankit, as Ankit also mentioned, but how we are going to do the supply, or how what we are going to learn in this course, that is what we are going to talk about. So, as I mentioned earlier also that I am also a network engineer. Okay, so I understand what how to teach you guys and from where to start. So we are going to start from the most basic topics. Again, we are going to talk about what are Python objects, how do we use a print function, what are the different functions, what are lists, what are dictionaries, what are methods, what are loops, how can you work with files, how can you read from the files, how can you write to different types of files, how can you write very basic scripts using where you can telnet into a device and make a configuration change, or read the output of a show command from a device, and then how you can simplify that script, and how you can convert that script into or write that script in a manner that you can repeat it on a daily basis. You can, just pick up parts of that script and make a new script to cater to some other use case. Okay, so we are going to start from the very basics, and then we are going to talk about what are the up and coming libraries and packages that everyone is using, what are the different data formats out there, what is JSON, what is XML, how the different APIs, whether it is REST or whether it is RPC, NetConf, RESTConf, how these APIs use these formats of data like JSON and XML, how they send the data or receive the data in these formats, how our devices have newer interfaces. We no longer need to be working with our devices using CLI. Okay, we have these newer interfaces like the REST, NetConf, RESTConf, how we can activate these, how we can use them to, get the data or push the data. When I say data, it is mostly configurational and operational data, right? Either we have configurational data. Anyone wants to tell me what is configurational and operational data? Anyone? So whenever we do a configuration, take an example of an interface, right? So in the case of an interface, configurational data will be something like the IP address of that interface, something like the description of that interface. Okay, so these kinds of data are configurational data, something that you can go ahead and configure on the device. When it comes to operational, okay, by virtue of the operation of that interface. Okay, on a router, if you turn on the router and connect one interface to another router's interface, there will be some data going on, right? Some data will travel between the two devices, right? So that the data that is generated by virtue of that traveling of data between two devices, right? Like the uh, input packets, output packets, okay, input errors, output errors. So these are all types of what we call operational data, right? When we configure BGP, we give the local AS number, we give the remote AS number, we give the remote IP address, local IP, update source, and all these things are configurational data. But once the neighborship comes up, okay, that what are the number of routes we are receiving on a particular from a particular peer, things like that are all operational data. So we at a very high level, it is just that we need to know the operational data, we need to pull the operational data from the device, and we need to generally push or pull the configurational data to the device. So we will learn what are the newer ways of doing that, okay, of interpreting that. So obviously we'll start with CLI, but we'll see the newer ways also going further, and then we will get into the discussion of N-auto. Okay, the N-auto syllabus we are going to cover, which basically in the N-auto syllabus, there the addition to what we just discussed. Okay, we have already discussed half of the topics of N-auto, but the second half is the Cisco's newer controllers that have come out. Okay, whether it is the Meraki, whether it is the DNA center, okay, whether it is Viptella's vManage, right? It is a controller, right? So all these controllers, how you can automate them, how you can send data to the Meraki controller or the DNA center or the Viptela vManage, or how you can retrieve data from it using the REST, the corresponding REST APIs that these controllers provide us with, right? So we are going to learn these concepts then. Then to top it off, how are modern teams, modern network engineering teams, where they also do network automation, how these teams can work together to develop automations. So there we are going to talk about concepts of Git. We are also going to cover the basics of Ansible in the end, right? And how you can, uh, how you can convert your complete networking infrastructure into a code. We are going to discuss topics like that. How you can version control your scripts, how you can share your scripts within the team, how you can update your scripts, and how everyone else in the team can get those scripts. So we are going to discuss topics like this also towards the end. We are going to talk about templating, right? Krishna mentioned about config generation. So how templating, mainly Jinja templating, how Jinja templating can be used to create a template once, and once that is generated on a daily basis, you just have to provide inputs. The only inputs that come in via LLD or some other tool within your organization. So once those inputs are in, you just have to provide those inputs in a file, and bam, in 1 second you have your configuration. And either you can then further write the script to also apply that configuration on the device, or you can just go ahead and apply that yourself. Okay, but the configuration generation, that 500 line, 1000 line configuration without any errors, for sure you can generate. Okay, so we are going to go the whole 9 yards in this. Okay, so it is a 3 month long class that is going to go on, and we are going to start from the very basics, and we are going to take it up to that level where you will be able to do things on your own and do a good amount of things. Okay, you will be able to make a considerable change in the way your teams are currently working in your organization. I'm going to leave you at that point. And I'm going to leave you at a point where if you still go ahead and learn further, you could also be basically you could transform your career from a network engineer to a software engineer also. So I'm going to leave you at that point. Okay. Yeah. Any more questions?
Hi, Ajit.
Yeah. Hi, Ajit. Hello. We lost your voice, Ajit.
Uh, uh, Amit, can I
Yeah.
ask the question,
Ankit, go
please?
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
actually, uh, I want to know if we are going to be knowing this course, what are the basic things we need to go for? So is it something like we need to be know about basics of the Python, or is it something like I know about the basics of the networking? Okay.
I'll no, I'll teach you everything, right? That's what I told you, right? Lists, methods, functions, loops, everything. We are going to
Okay,
discuss everything
but
from the very
here
basics.
but here my point is also like I am not
Uh,
sure. I have seen some of the YouTube videos. So right, people are going to be starting not
hmm.
directly with that. Just an example I'm going to take. They are going to be starting from the routing like MPLS, BGP. So is it something in that course like because if the day one after that.
No, we are not going to talk about MPLS BGP, right? Why do you need me to teach you MPLS BGP? MPLS BGP, there are 100 others teaching you that, right? Why are we going to waste our time with MPLS BGP? This is an automation course. Even if you understand how to configure interface, you are good enough to enroll. Okay.
Okay, that is the things I want to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
If you know how to log in into a router and what the router's purpose is, what do you do with the router, what do you do with the switch, you are good enough for this course. Okay.
okay. Really,
What you are going to
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, really, why I'm asking
yeah, go ahead.
this, I'm not completely from the core network, right? Even I am from
Yeah.
that, you have heard that broadband technology, DOCSIS FTTX right now is the there's a craze
Hmm.
in the market,
Hmm.
right? So I'm in not
I
part
know.
of core, after this had and there is things is there in the ODN means distribution optical distribution network or customer premise end. So I want to go
Hmm.
for that, testing part as well. So in the testing part, we need to be Python
Hmm.
as well, and the network automation is well.
Yeah.
So, but I want to be understand
Hmm.
actually because I've seen, really right now personally taking that course because he really want to use that skills and want to go some, good package or getting a great
Hmm.
opportunity in different organization. So we see that kind of
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you are in the right place.
Yeah.
No issues.
Okay.
Yeah. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Hi,
Sushil.
Thank
Amit.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Hi.
want to know, this is applicable for the security device also, or only for network devices?
Yeah, the examples that we take are for network devices, but the same concepts, exact same concepts apply to security devices also. They also have CLI, they also have API. Okay, so if you learn how to work with the CLI and how to work with an API, what you want to do, what you want to push on the device, what command, what you want to push, or that is your job. Okay. The examples we take are obviously from networking because most people are from networking. But the exact same thing, I'll tell you exactly what you need to change in the script to be able to work with the security device also. Okay. And anyways, you're not going to find anyone specifically teaching you security with automation. Okay. So it is the core
No, I
concepts
just
that you
want
want to
to,
learn,
I just
right?
want to verify
Yeah.
whether if suppose I want to push anything, from
Hmm.
Cisco to FortiGate, I have to migrate my some configuration, something like that. So
Hmm.
I'm just want to worry on that.
Yeah, migrating the configuration is a bit of a is I would say is a use case of this knowledge. Okay, so retrieving certain parameters from the FortiGate configuration and then using those parameters and creating a Cisco configuration, that is one of the use cases. So the things that we discuss here, you could be using those things to do things like that. But again, at some point you have to start, right? I cannot build the exact use case that you're looking for, but you can build that. Okay, I'll teach
Okay.
you individual concepts, right? Yeah.
For me, this course is
Yes,
completely
Ajit.
for either
Yeah.
GLU based or completely CLI based.
That's what I'm saying, right? The CLI we are going to just start with.
Okay,
It is later on we are going to add APIs.
okay,
Okay.
API. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question. Are you using Arista Juniper as well?
Yeah. Arista Juniper in my lab, I'm not using, but if you have a running device and if you try to do something on that device and if it doesn't work, you are welcome, most welcome to discuss that with me during the classes. Okay.
Okay. So you're starting from the basic, correct? If somebody
Yeah.
already know basic, then how is gonna, help that person?
If you know basics, it doesn't hurt to revise, right? You can, that will be anyways, first probably what, first 10 classes, and then, we are going to get on to the complex topics. Not even first 10 classes. In first 7 to 8 classes, we'll be done with the basics and we'll be discussing really important topics going further, right?
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yes, Ajit, you go ahead.
Hi, Amir. Sorry, actually, when I was talking,
Yeah,
my network got dropped. I was saying one question.
yeah, yeah.
After going through this course, will we be able to learn enough to clear exam for Cisco DevNet, or we'll have to take training for that course separately?
Yeah, if you want to clear the N-Auto exam, okay, N-Auto is another exam which is part of the CCNP Enterprise exam set. So N-Auto, this exam has totally covered. Uh, DevNet also, this exam has covered like 80-90%. Okay, the DevNet associate exam that we have, in that, then some more topics are left. That is, some more controllers that come out from the Cisco side. That in the UCS kind of, in the voice domain or in the security domain or in the service provider domain, some more controllers like NSO, DCNM, and controllers like these are also included in the uh, in the DevNet associate exam. So those controllers you just have to learn what is the differentiating factor about those controllers. But even out of those, we are going to cover Viptela, vManage, we are going to cover DNA Center and Meraki. So those three are already covered. So you will be in a very good position to just learn few more things and give the exam. N-Auto is a very big subset of DevNet associate. Okay. Like if
Okay,
you
thank
carve
you.
out 90% out of, yeah, if you carve out 90% out of DevNet associate, it becomes an auto. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So this
even if I
course is
show you quickly, here also you can see the automate. This is the N auto exam. Okay, exam topics. So here also they have mentioned exam is a 90-minute exam associated with the CCNP Enterprise. This is also associated with DevNet Professional, DevNet Specialist, Enterprise Automation, and Programmability Certification. They itself are saying that. Okay,
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you.
clear? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
this
Yeah.
course is catered to some exam or something?
No, no, this will start from the very basics, but we are going to cover these topics as well.
Okay, this is a part of the exam, correct? This you're preparing for the exam.
Yeah, because there are students who really want to just focus on exams, so we just to cater to them, we picked up these controllers. Okay. Otherwise, probably I might have picked up NSO, but yeah, at least we should be covering some topic, right? So these first three sections are of basic Python only. If you look closely, right? Yang modeling and REST and API and all these things. So these anyways we have to cover. But when it comes to controllers, these three controllers we are going to discuss here. So it will become N-Auto syllabus also. Okay, if you add two more controllers, it will become DevNet associate syllabus also. Okay, clear?
And one more thing, we are getting access to the labs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, if you don't want to build yourself, well, I promote that you build yourself. You can build it in GNS3 also, you can build it in EvenG also. But if you really want from us, we do provide, yes. Okay. But there you will be provided with videos to construct this lab in your PC also. the good thing about that is once you learn how to create a lab on your PC, that lab or that knowledge is always going to be with you, and going further, you can always keep creating your own labs with custom topologies. So in our case, we are going to provide you this topology in the web lab. But for your case, you can build your own custom topologies also. So uh, that's why we just promote. Otherwise, you can always take the lab from us also. Okay.
So for this, right, deploying or
Yeah.
configuring this GNS, right? We don't require any images. We require images, but we'll get that, right, from
Yeah,
you.
you will require for our lab you don't require anything. You just need to we'll provide you with the configurations. You will have to configure basic config. You have to do on the devices yourself because it is your own custom pod. But that same configuration we provide for local setup also. Uh, what was your question? I
Like what?
slept.
I have installed the JNS, right, and I have to put one
Yeah.
like firewall. You can say router, Cisco
Yeah,
router.
images. Your question was images.
Yes, images.
Yeah, image I will provide. I'll provide the image. If you don't have it, I'll provide. It is nothing very basic images only. Probably you will also have it. But if you really want, we will be providing that. Not a big deal. Yeah.
So like setting up that things, there is no requirement of any license, right? We can have that for like longer time, right?
No, no, GNS3 is free. Images I will provide. So you're pretty much set. As far as where you will be writing the code, that code you will be writing on your PC only. You will be running it from your PC only. Okay.
That's fine. No, my question is for virtualization, right? Means for that image,
Hmm.
that is free, right?
Image I will provide. Nah. Yeah. I will provide. That's what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
I will provide means free only. Yeah.
Shishil,
Anything else,
I have a
guys?
question. Yeah, Shishil, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is like I heard you saying that earlier you were in network engineering, but very recently or few years back you moved on to a developer role or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you mind if
Not
I
really a
just ask?
developer role. Let me quickly correct you. Not exactly a developer role, but I'm working for companies, who are developing tools for network engineers. I cannot name them, but yeah, get the
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
So you're
Yeah, go
kind
ahead.
of an you can contribute something like a network programmer or network developer or something. Am I right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Before the current roles, I was a network developer. I used to work with software engineers, proper software engineers in my company, and we were part of a single team, and we were developing tools internally.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. The reason of
Yeah.
me asking this question is, I'm kind of curious,
Yeah.
as an iOS developer perspective, I just like to understand how Cisco develops their own iOS, and I'm just trying
Yeah.
to simulate
That
how that
yeah,
can be
that is
done through
a
Python.
no, you cannot develop operating systems in Python. Okay, you can, but it will not work at par with when it comes to operating systems. You need even faster languages like C, C++, and so on, right? You need hardware drivers. You need to develop hardware drivers and things like that. Those are developed in C language. Those are not developed in Python because there are speed constraints. You have to do things at a very high speed. Okay, so Python is meant for high level programming. It is not for that low level programming, right?
Okay. So it can be
But
used
yeah,
for.
we are not going to. Yeah, you don't want to be creating iOS.
Right.
You don't want to go till that level. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anything
definitely
else?
Python can be helpful in developing some monitoring tools like SolarWinds. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
like in a different perspective, not just like an
Ansible,
engineer.
Ansible is an example. Ansible is an example completely developed in Python, right?
Okay. Okay.
Ansible is completely developed in Python. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so that's an example for you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I think we are almost done here. Any last minute comments or questions before we close?
Hi, Amit. Rakesh here.
Yeah, yeah.
Just two questions. Sorry, I joined your session a bit late. Just quick question. As you said previously that
Hmm.
you didn't expect much from new students, right, for to join this course. Like there is no prerequisite required for like
Hmm.
CCN or CCNP certified, right, to start this course.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
can you answer that first? I will ask the second question then.
Yeah, you obviously need basic knowledge of what routers are and why do you need to automate routers. Okay, in the first place, you don't even have that much basic knowledge. I think you should go for that first. Okay, but if you are a network engineer at any level, even an entry level network engineer, you can benefit greatly from this course. Okay,
Okay, fine. Second question is like, if I understand correctly,
yeah.
for example, if I take a real example for, so if I work a company for a company and I do the routing and switching configuration, and if I'm not available there, so
Hmm.
using these Python scripts and all, I can give it to someone who doesn't know, and he can run the script and configure multiple switching router with those scripts. Is that correct or?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Using the same knowledge, I used to do a very similar thing.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Thanks.
I used to like whatever scripts I developed for myself, I shared it with my team,
Uh,
and like everyone was generating configurations and applying. Right?
okay. So same goes for the like monitoring tools also. Like, or is it not available for
Yeah,
those monitoring?
monitoring tools basically, if they have a northbound API, you can, pull some data out of them. You can push some data onto them, whatever you are allowed to do. And based on that, you can build certain automation use cases if you have any custom use case in your scenario, right?